Okay, so you can see my slides. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so here's the picture of me with my daughter and in Japan back in 2018. And I'm gonna just keep moving forward. So I did want to let everybody know that this webinar is being recorded. For some reason you have internet issues or you need to leave. I will be putting this recording on our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and do a search for Study Abroad UC San Diego, and you'll find the recording in a few days. So to tell you the different paths for you to study abroad, there's 4 main ways for you to study abroad in Japan. The first one would be through UC San Diego Global Seminars. The second would be through the University of California Education Abroad Program, which we call UCEAP. The third would be the Opportunities Abroad Program, which we call OAP. And then the last one is through UC San Diego, the newest addition to the different ways for you to study abroad. So to talk about the University of California Education Abroad Program, this is the official study abroad exchange program for the University of California. It's actually the largest study abroad program in the country, and you have to be a UC student in order to participate on this program. So the good news is, because you're a UC San Diego student, this program is available to you. And it's really like you've never left UCSD, because you'll be earning UC credit and UC grades for everything that you take while you're abroad. So the courses will be listed on your academic history here at UC San Diego, and the grades that you receive for the courses that you take abroad will actually factor into your UCSD GPA. Also, the good news is, because it's like you've never left UCSD, your financial aid that you would receive during the academic year can be rolled over for your time abroad. Summer aid does differ a little bit. If anybody is interested in doing a summer program in Japan, let's talk about that at the end of the session. Also, with UCEAP, you're going to have about 12 programs available to you in Japan. I think they have exchange agreements in over 35 countries worldwide. So if you decide Japan is not a good fit for you, we certainly have something for everybody. And there are summer, quarter, semester, and year-long options. So in Japan and in other locations as well. The other option for you to study abroad is through global seminars, and that's UC San Diego's very own faculty-led summer programs. So these are programs that are only offered during the summer, and students take 2 classes and they get 8 units. They're 5 weeks in length. Sometimes they're summer session 1, sometimes they're summer session 2. And they're taught by UCSD faculty members. So you would go abroad to a location with a UCSD professor, and they determine what classes they plan to teach in that location. So they always have a topic or theme to the program. In the last 2 summers, there have been global seminars in Japan. Unfortunately, for summer 2021, Japan is not on the list of locations where faculty are going. However, that could change. So if you're a first-year student or a second-year student and you're thinking about global seminars and you're thinking about going in a couple summers, just make sure you check the website, because the locations The other avenue for you to study abroad is through the Opportunities Abroad program. And the Opportunities Abroad program, or OAP, what we like to call it, is really an umbrella term for studying abroad outside of UCEAP or global seminars. So it means that you could do direct enrollment at a university in Japan. It means that you can go on an outside study abroad program that has program options in Japan. But the big difference is, with OAP, you're basically going to be enrolling outside the UC system. So you're going to be taking, if you go abroad, let's say during a fall semester, you'll be taking fall quarter off from UCSD. You would be enrolled in the overseas university. So let's say you're at a university in Japan or through a third-party provider. They are going to enroll you, and then you could transfer the courses back to UCSD. So if any of you did an IB program or AP credit, and you transferred it into UCSD, it's a very similar process. UCSD admissions will review this work before you leave, and sure, you'll get transfer credit for everything that you're taking in Japan, and then you submit an official transcript upon return. Now, with OAP, you're going to have a lot of options available to you throughout the world and more options available to you in Japan as well. So it is a good option for students. And the good news is you can take financial aid with you. The big difference is the financial aid does differ a little bit in the respect that you can't take UC grants with you because you're no longer enrolled in the UC system. So if you plan to take financial aid and go on an OAP program, you could take your Pell Grant, which is your federal grant. You could take state grants, so your Cal grants, or you could take loan money with you. The newest option for Japan is the global exchange. So UC San Diego just started offering bilateral partnerships with universities overseas. And Japan is the latest agreement that we signed. We actually now have a partnership with Kyoto University, and I'll be talking to you later on in the presentation about that option for our students. The last option is going through another UC campus. So UC Davis and UCLA and UC Berkeley, a lot of the other UC campuses have their very own faculty-led summer programs. And so you're eligible to go on their programs. And I'll be talking to you about some programs through the other UCs that are offered in the summer in Japan, again, later on in the webinar. The good news is because it's another UC campus, you would get UC credit for everything you take. And actually the grades would also factor into your UCSD GPA as well. So it works in a very similar fashion as global seminars and UCEAP. So financing your time abroad, that's always usually the number one concern for our students. And like I said, financial aid can go with you when you study abroad. You have to be going on a program that awards academic credit. So that's the big caveat. The other good news is the fact that we have a lot of scholarship money for students to study abroad. And this is money that would not be available to you if you did not study abroad. So there are special scholarships specific to study abroad, and there are scholarships that are also available for students specifically for Japan. And we have on our website a page that lists all the scholarships that are available for studying abroad. Some of them are national scholarships, some of them are specific to UCSD, and some of them are specific to Japan. And I would say every year I have a handful of students that get some of these national scholarships for Japan. I also have had students get quite a bit of scholarship money for study abroad, where it actually helped them and they didn't have to take out loan money that they might have taken out otherwise. The other thing I want to let you all know is that we do have a financial aid advisor in our office. Her name is Tina, and you can connect with her through the Virtual Advising Center. You can send her a message if you're concerned about financial aid and you have a program in mind. Reach out to her, and she can certainly talk to you about what your financial aid package may look like for the time that you're overseas. She also plans to do workshops throughout fall and winter quarter. I don't think she's scheduled them yet, but on our website, we do have an events tab. So you can look at a calendar and take a look to see when those might be coming up. So just keep checking back if you don't see something now, because she will be adding those, I believe, shortly. So I did want to mention something about academics in Japan. The good news is if you want to study abroad in Japan and you don't have fluency in Japanese, you could absolutely take classes taught in English. But the caveat is a lot of the programs in Japan don't have a huge list of classes that are available in English. It does vary by program. Some programs it's a very short list, and some programs it's a longer list. But I always do warn students that you're not going to see a huge course catalog available to you with courses taught in English that you would see here at UC San Diego. And you just have to understand that they rely on professors teaching courses in English. And so they do need professors that feel comfortable doing that and have a high enough level of English to feel comfortable doing that. If you have advanced Japanese, so let's say you grew up speaking Japanese, or you have studied Japanese for at least 3 years at UC San Diego, and you feel comfortable taking classes in Japanese, that's going to open up a lot more course offerings to you. So again, there are classes taught in English, and I will show you how to find those course offerings in a little bit. The last thing I want to mention is I do get questions from students about internships. UC Davis does offer an internship opportunity over the summer, and I'll be telling you about that shortly. But typically, unless you have advanced language skills, it's pretty difficult to find an internship. I have had students find opportunities to teach English, but if you want an internship where you're in an office setting, sometimes it can be tough to find. So I just want to mention that because it does come up quite often. So now I want to talk to you about UCEAP and go over the options that you have available for you for studying abroad. So here's a map of Japan, and we have a program at Tohoku University, which is located in Sendai, and Tohoku University offers an engineering and science program. We have a lot of options in Tokyo. We have Keio University, Waseda, the University of Tokyo, Hitotsubashi, and International Christian University, which we call ICU. We also have an exchange agreement with Meiji Gakuin in Yokohama. We have a program at Doshisha University in Kyoto. And lastly, we do have a partnership with Osaka University in Osaka. So students a lot of times are interested in studying in Tokyo. So I created this table just so you can see what the options are. If you're interested in studying just abroad for a fall quarter, then the only option for you with UCEAP would be the International Christian University. And they do require a 3.0 UC GPA. They're not very flexible with the GPA requirement. So if you're just below a 3.0 at the time of application, unfortunately, I would have to redirect you. So they're pretty strict on it, even if you're very close. ICU is a quarter system, so they offer a fall quarter program. We also have a spring quarter option. So you would leave in April and you would finish up about mid-June, late June. Hitotsubashi has a lower GPA requirement. It's a 2.85 GPA, and they offer a spring semester program, which runs early April to late July. And then if you want to go for a year, you could commit to the International Christian University, Keio University, or Waseda. Waseda University does require that you have 1 year of Japanese by departure. So it's not at the time of application. Someone did just ask me about the International Christian University, if you have to be Christian, and you don't. It was founded, I think, by Christian missionaries. So it's just historically a Christian university, but you're not required to be religious, and you're not required to go to church or chapel while you're there. So for the Tokyo options, most of the course offerings are going to be in the humanities and also in the social sciences. So if you're a STEM major, you can find some classes in STEM at ICU and at Waseda, but the majority of the course offerings taught in English are going to be in humanities and social sciences. Now, again, if you have advanced language skills in Japanese, that changes everything. But if you have to take classes in English and you want to go to Tokyo and your STEM, you're going to be somewhat limited. Also, I want to mention in terms of language study. So if you're hoping to go to Japan and continue your language study, Keio University, Hitotsubashi, and Waseda, it's mandatory while you're on the UCEAP program that you take Japanese. If you want to go to Japan and just take classes for your major or college requirements and you don't want to continue Japanese, then a good option for you would be the International Christian University, ICU, because it is an optional course. It's not required by EAP. The only thing that I like to highlight to students, though, that are looking at ICU is that ICU their language program is intensive. So unless you're an absolute beginner, like you've never taken Japanese, and if you want to take Japanese, let's say you've done 10A at UCSD and you want to take Japanese at ICU, they're going to require that you go in the intensive language program. And that means that the minimum unit value is going to be 12 units. And so I always point that out because it means if you want to take Japanese and you go to ICU, it does become really the main focus of the program. Okay, I'm seeing a chat. I'm just going to check it real fast. Okay, I'm going to answer that question in a little bit. So why don't you go ahead and keep your questions coming, and I'll go ahead and answer all the questions at the end, but I will be talking about STEM offerings as well, just in a few slides. So if you are interested in going abroad and you have sophomore, junior standing, then you're eligible for all the Tokyo options. And we do look at your total units. We don't look at your class standing at UCSD. So we don't require that you be, if you come in with a bunch of units and you're going to reach junior standing, that's all we're looking at is your total units by departure. The other thing I want to mention about Japan is with housing, if you're looking at the Tokyo options, typically you'll be living in student dormitories, but they usually are not on campus. So usually there will be a commute. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's up to an hour on the train. So that's something that is unique to Japan, and I do always want to warn students about that. If you want to live on a campus in Japan, then ICU is really a good option because they do have dormitories on campus for students. The other option for you is the Language and Culture program in Kyoto. It's a spring semester, so it does run April to late July. And the focus of this program is exactly like the name implies. It's intensive language. So the majority of your units will be studying Japanese, and then the non-language classes will be focused on Japanese culture. This program does have a lower GPA requirement. It's only a 2.5. And you don't have to have ever studied Japanese. So if you are a major that that doesn't require Japanese for graduation, and you have a personal interest in Japanese and you think you want to study it while you're in Japan, this would be a great program for you because there is no previous Japanese language required to be eligible for this program. So if you're interested in doing language during the summer, we have two options for UCEAP. The first one is through Osaka University. And this program is really designed for beginning Japanese. It is for students who've either taken 0 Japanese all the way up to Japanese 10B. So if you have studied, if you have gone past Japanese 10B, so if you have taken 10C or further, then you would not be eligible for this program, and we would direct you to the ICU summer program, because that program is more geared for the intermediate advanced learners. ICU does require a 3.0 GPA. It's a little bit shorter of a program. It's 6 weeks, whereas Osaka is 8 weeks, but both programs will award 12 UC units. Also, both programs, you just need to be a sophomore standing or junior or senior. So if you're thinking about going between your first and second years at UCSD, and want to learn Japanese, these would be good options for you. So the other option I mentioned when I showed you the map of Japan is the Meiji Gakuin Global Studies Program. So that's located in Yokohama, and Meiji Gakuin is a private university. We offer a fall semester program and a spring semester program at Meiji Gakuin, and the fall semester does align with our fall quarter. So I believe it starts in September and it ends in December. So you would be back in time for winter quarter here at UCSD. And then the spring semester is the traditional Japanese spring semester, which is April through late July. So you would be able to finish up winter quarter here if you want to go on the spring semester. Meiji Gakuin does require a 3.0 GPA, but they tend to be a little bit more flexible than ICU. So if you're not quite at the 3.0, let's have a conversation about that. And this program is specifically designed for social science majors. And the focus is global studies. And so the course offerings taught in English focus on that topic. And so the course offerings are going to be international relations, they're going to be poli-sci, econ, Japanese studies, So those are the courses that make up this program. There are some other classes available through the Meiji Gakuin Tokyo campus. They do offer culture classes, and those are like tea ceremony, ikebana. And so if you have any college requirements and you need to take classes that might fit what's offered at Tokyo campus, you are allowed to enroll, and then you would have to just commute to the Tokyo campus. I think it's about a 30-minute train ride. The other thing that's really cool about this program that I really like, and I think students really enjoy, is the program cost does include a field trip to Hiroshima, and they run a really excellent buddy program. So if you're interested in having a Japanese buddy, they will assign one to you to help you navigate your life in Japan and being a student in Japan. Also, the Meiji Gakuin program, in terms of housing, students live off campus in an apartment building, and everybody gets their own room, which I know students really enjoy. And they do offer an optional homestay where you can go spend a weekend with a Japanese family, or even have a home visit where maybe you just go for lunch or dinner. So now I'm going to get into the science and engineering programs. I know someone asked us. So Osaka University, we have a lab research program, and we offer the option during the summer. We offer a fall semester. The fall semester calendar does run from October to February, so you would be away 2 quarters. So that tends to not be a very popular option with our students. And then we do offer a spring semester option, which is again the April through late July calendar. And so you would be away just during spring quarter and part of our summer. Now this program is full-time research, and so it's not a traditional study abroad program. You would be doing research in a lab Monday through Friday. You would have a professor overseeing your research, and you would have lab mates. And so it's for a student who is really focused on conducting research and is okay not, being in that traditional study abroad setting where you're coming and going from class and you have classmates and all of that. They do require a 3.0, and unlike the Tokyo options, they do require at least junior standing by departure. And that's because they are putting you in labs and want to see that you've done your lower division coursework, and hopefully you've started some of your upper division coursework. Now, if you go during the summer, you're going to get 12 units of research credit. If you go during the fall or spring semester, you're going to get 21 units. And I do have a note that the summer program is oversubscribed. What this means is I typically get more applicants than spots. And the reason being is summer tends to be popular with STEM students. And also there's just not a lot of lab opportunities during the summer. So I don't have as many spots available to our students. So if you have any way to consider the spring semester, absolutely consider that instead of the summer. Now, I don't know what summer 2021 is going to hold. And so if your top choice is summer, go ahead and apply. And if you don't get in for summer 2021, if it is oversubscribed, you can reapply the following summer. Or I can redirect you to the spring option instead. So I always work with students to try and make sure that we can find a spot for them. If summer doesn't work, we talk about other options. So Tohoku Engineering and Science, that's the program that's in Sendai. It's about a 3-hour train ride from Tokyo. It's called, Sendai is known for this, I think, called the City of Trees. I personally have never been to Sendai, but students have told me that it's a very livable city. Tohoku, the program options with the EAP are either a year-long or a spring semester. And this program is different than Osaka in the respect that you're going to be you can take classes taught in English. You will do mandatory research in a lab for 8 units. That's the standard, is 8 units. You can petition to have your research component be counted as more units, so it can go up to all the way up to 16 units. They do offer Japanese language, and they do offer Japanese culture classes. So this is going to be more of a traditional study abroad program, but it also adds in that research component. And Tohoku recently started allowing our students to take classes in their international program in liberal arts school. And so these classes are taught in English. They're focused on social sciences and humanities. So for some STEM majors, this is nice because maybe if you have a college requirement you need to wipe out, you might be able to find it in the department, in the IPLA department. Now, Tohoku has a lower GPA requirement. It's a 2.85. You don't have to know Japanese. There's no previous language required for this program. And, but they do, like Osaka, want you to have at least junior standing. So that is 84 units for UCSD. And on the spring semester program, you would get 21 to 28 units. I know it sounds like a lot, but you are on a semester schedule, so you have a longer period for the semester. And so that's going to be equivalent to about 16 units here at UCSD. So University of Tokyo is our STEM option in Tokyo. I know somebody mentioned that. It is I would say University of Tokyo is the top university in Japan. It's highly selective, and this program is impacted just like the Osaka summer program. They do require a higher GPA. It's a 3.0 GPA, and like Osaka and Tohoku, they do require at least junior standing. I want to tell you a little bit about Tokyo versus Osaka in terms of the summer lab. University of Tokyo tends not to have a lot of lab options. They have fewer lab options than the Osaka program. And so I usually students to look at their lab options to see if it might work for you. The other thing is the University of Tokyo doesn't guarantee placement for our students. And so what that means is you might apply, you might get accepted by me for, and I give you a spot on the program, but you also have to apply to the University of Tokyo. And that's true for all of our Japan programs through EAP. But with the University of Tokyo, they tend to be very selective. And if they have several students vying for the same lab and they can only take one student, then they will turn some students away. And unfortunately, these decisions come out sometime in May. So it's usually too late for you to pivot and find another location to go in Japan. So I always tell students who are interested in the University of Tokyo, this is sort of an all or nothing thing. If you get a spot with me, it doesn't guarantee that you will be going this coming summer. So something to think about, and also that they may not have the type of labs that you're interested in. Also, I want to mention, we know that the Olympics are taking place, hopefully, fingers crossed, in Tokyo this coming summer. And so I don't know what housing will be like for the University of Tokyo summer program. So that's something that we will find out as we get closer. So I just wanted to mention that. So I know academics is also a big concern for students, and I just want to show you a screenshot from the UCEAP website. This is taken from the ICU page, and you can see on the left-hand side there's different tabs that you can click on. So you can find out about the cost of the program, you can look at the approximate dates, the eligibility requirements, what the housing will be like on this program. But academics, we know, is really important. We want to make sure that you can find the types of classes that you need and want in order to graduate in 4 years. And so if you look at the bottom box, you'll see catalogs and resources. Every UCEAP program page will have these resources. So they will always link to the host university, where you can see the courses that are offered. And sometimes the Japanese universities are not easy to navigate their website. So you'll have to give yourself some patience and just look around. And I can certainly help you if we have an appointment. I can show you where to find this information. Also, every program page will show you the UCEAP course catalog. So it will show you what courses have been taken at that university by UC students in the last 5 years. And it will allow you to click on the class, and it will tell you how many units were awarded in the UC system. It will tell you if the class came back to the UC system as an upper or lower division. and it will also give you a brief description that you could certainly show your academic advisors on campus. The one thing I want to let everybody know is the Study Abroad Office is here to help you navigate which program is the best fit for you, how to work, what costs may be involved, how financial aid may work. I can show you course information, but it's really your department will decide if they are going to award credit for your major. And if you're hoping to do college requirements, it's your college advising office that you'll need to speak to determine whether a particular class in Japan will count for a college requirement back here at UCSD. Now, some departments have pre-approved lists. If you go to their website and you look at their study abroad page, some of them are actually listing, like biology has a nice long list of pre-approved classes. And some departments, you have to talk to the advisor and show them course descriptions. Also, if your department is one of the ones that shows a list of pre-approved classes, if you don't see a class on there, it doesn't mean that you can't take it. It just means that nobody has petitioned that class to count for major requirement back here at UCSD. I know I'm going to probably get a lot of questions about this. I'm going to keep going, and then we have time for questions at the end. I'll answer everybody's questions. So I just want to tell you about the new Kyoto University program, a global exchange. Like I said, this is brand new, and they run on the traditional academic calendar that Japanese universities run on, which the fall program will run October, and the spring semester will run early April to early August, late July, early August. So I think if students are interested in Kyoto University, I think they're probably going to be interested in the spring semester because then you're away one quarter. The that you'll be taking will be through the Institute of Liberal Arts and Sciences. So for any STEM majors out there, the good news is there are some STEM classes available to you at Kyoto University. They do offer Japanese language classes, and they have a lower GPA requirement. So it's a 2.0 GPA. You don't have to have studied Japanese at UCSD, but you do have to be a junior or senior in order to, by departure, in order to go on this program. I made a note at the bottom to talk to you about transfer units because the Global Exchange does award transfer credit, and we have a whole process to ensure that you will get transfer credit. You'll know if the course will come back as upper or lower division, and you will be speaking with your department and college advisors to make sure that you can get credit for your major or college requirements. The thing is about Japan is some of the classes taken at Japanese university will come back as less than 4 UC units. And the reason being is a lot of the courses in Japan they only meet like 1 hour a week. And that means that you're just not going to get as many units because the contact hours are less than what you would have here at UCSD. So the way that I tell students to handle this is, let's say you take 2 classes and they're 3 units each. You'll want to talk to your department or college advisors, depending on how you want to count them, about combining those classes to count for 1 requirement here. So let's say you have to take history, you would take 2 history classes. If they're 3 units each, that would add up to 6 units, and you would count it for 1 4-unit requirement back here. Because we haven't sent any students on this program, we haven't been able to see what admissions is doing in terms of the unit value. But we're guessing they're going to be 3 units. They could be 2. We're just not sure yet. And then Japanese language, because usually you're in class more often when you're studying a language, those will usually come back as like 5 to 6 units. For the Global Exchange at Kyoto University, I just have this basic screenshot so you can see the different departments and the types of course offerings. But for those STEM majors, you can see there's bio, physics, earth science, data science. So that's great news. And obviously social science and humanities as well. So I'm not going to talk a lot about OAP. Sometimes students ask me why they might pick an OAP program over an EAP program. And just to let you know, when you go on OAP, you will be paying your tuition and fees to the provider or the university in Japan. You will not be paying your tuition to UCSD. So if we have any students that are non-resident, so international or out of state, OAP a lot of times is a less expensive option. Also, sometimes we have students that want to go for a term or at a location that EAP or Global Seminars or UC Davis doesn't offer. And so you might pick an OAP program for those specific reasons. So in Tokyo, we've got Sophia University, and that's direct enrollment. I have a handful of students that apply directly to Sophia every year. They also run a really great summer option where it's either 4 weeks of language or 4 weeks of Japanese studies, or you can do both for 8 weeks. UC Davis does offer a summer internship in Japan, and it's for business and communication majors. And so we do have links on our website to take you to the UC Davis Summer Abroad page, and I can show you that if anybody needs me to show you. Also, Waseda University, sometimes students will do direct enrollment at Waseda, and the reason being is EAP has a year-long option, but I usually send a handful of students on the spring semester program to Waseda. So students who don't want to commit to a full year might go through OAP then and do a spring semester there. UC Davis has a brand new program in the summer in Tokyo, and focused on design. So if there are any art majors or ICAM majors, Viz Arts, this would be an excellent program for you. And then some other options are Tokyo International University, Temple University, which is an American university in Philadelphia. They have a Japan campus, and everything they offer is offered in English. They actually have computer science classes. And then International Studies Abroad, which is an outside third-party provider, they have an option at, in Tokyo as well. So you might want to go somewhere besides Tokyo, and I do encourage students to consider locations outside of Tokyo. If you're focused on your language, you will certainly you should improve your Japanese much faster if you're not in Tokyo. So I have had students tell me that time and time again. So if you're really motivated to improve your Japanese, you should consider locations outside of Tokyo. And we do have options in Nagasaki and the Kansai Gadai area. And these are third-party providers. These are nonprofit study abroad programs that take applications from students from all over the country. And for Kyoto and the Osaka area, UC Davis does run a spring quarter option, and it's intensive Japanese. So if for some reason you like the UC Davis program better than the UC EAP program, I can help facilitate you going on that program. They do have a lower GPA, it's a 2.0, so that might be a reason why you would pick that program. Also, UC Davis does run a summer program that's focused on life sciences, and it's in the Kyoto region, and you go with a UC Davis, I think it's a biochemistry faculty member. And they do have the course information on their website, so you can see exactly what you would be taking. Also, there's a few other study abroad providers, CIS Abroad and UCEAP, that we work with that have options in Kyoto as well. So what's next? Really, your next step would be to research program options, and you would go to our website, and I'm going to show you our page in a second. You could schedule an appointment using our virtual front desk. We do have a virtual front desk. It's open, I believe, 9 to 4 or 9 to 7, actually. The hours are listed on our website, and you would click on the Zoom link and you would talk to one of our student assistants. You can make an appointment with me if you want to talk about what it is you're interested in doing, which program might fit, and we can go through everything, one-on-one. And then you would need to submit your application by the application deadline. So in terms of researching your options, if you go to our website, click on students, you're going to see a link that says find a program. And we have all the different programs that are available listed, and you would just click on the link and you can read about what options are available. With the UCEAP link, we have a really robust FAQs. We have the steps to apply. We have the deadlines. We link to the UCEAP website. We also have a page for the other UC campus programs. So if you were interested in the UC Davis program, if you click on that, it's going to give you the links to the UC Davis page. So this is just a screenshot from our homepage. So I mentioned that we have the virtual front desk. So if you click on Can I Help You, it's going to take you to the Zoom meeting room. And it looks like Monday through Thursday, 9 to 7, and Fridays, 9 to 4. So these are all student assistants who have worked in our office last year. They can help you with basic questions. We also have peer-to-peer advising as well. And then if you're interested in applying, we do have a how to apply page on our website. If you click on UCEAP, it expands that drawer and it tells you what the process is. There's a link to the deadlines page. If you decide you're interested in global seminars, even though they don't have a Japan option, it will take you to the global seminars page and explain how to apply. So this information is for you. If you're ready, you know which program you want, and you're ready to start your application, you can go straight to the how to apply page. I just want to let you know about the UCEAP deadlines. If you're interested in one of the STEM Summer Lab, the University of Tokyo or Osaka, that's going to be the first deadline we have for all UCEAP programs. And it is December 11th. If I get more applications than spots available, I will email everybody and ask them to do a supplemental application. I also want to let everybody know who's interested in this program that typically the University of Tokyo and Osaka University require a faculty letter of recommendation. And we can, you can have a TA write the letter and a professor can co-sign the letter. But it does have to be from somebody in your department. It can't be Japanese language, your Japanese language professor. If you're interested in the International Christian University, the summer language, the fall quarter, or the year long, that's and any of the year programs, Waseda or Keio University, that's going to be January 4th. If you're interested in Meiji Gakuin, the Global Studies program, or the Osaka Beginning Japanese Language Summer program, that's not until February 1st. And then if you're interested in going abroad during that spring semester, that April through typically late July, that deadline is not until June 7th, so you've got plenty of time. If you're interested in global exchange, please reach out to us through VAC. I am not the advisor for the Kyoto University program. We have a different advisor and the process is different. So just send us a message through the Virtual Advising Center and we will connect you with the advisor for that program. If you're interested in UC Davis or like the internship or the life science, UC faculty-led summer programs are usually rolling admissions. So they usually open up their application early January. And if it's a popular program, it can fill up pretty quickly. So if you're thinking about one of those programs, certainly do your research. You can reach out to UC Davis if you're looking at that program, and you can ask them, do they typically fill up pretty quickly and when they're going to open up their applications. For OAP deadlines, they're always later than EAP. So if you're not really sure what you want to do, you're thinking about EAP, but you might want to do OAP, there's no rush. Usually for the summer, going through OAP, you're not going to be applying typically until like March. So you have plenty of time to research your options and meet with me, and I can explain the whole process. The last thing I want to mention is we have a really excellent Study Abroad in Japan video. It's just under 5 minutes. It was professionally done, and we have returnees speaking about their experience. I didn't want to torture you and have you like watch it with me on the webinar, but I did want to let you know that there's a lot of, you know, wonderful thing returning their program, and you can learn a lot from this video. So it is on the Study Abroad UC San Diego YouTube page. So if you don't mind spending 5 minutes and looking at some great food and hearing from returnees, take a look at that page and watch the video. Okay, so now we're gonna go to questions. And I can also, if anybody wants to be unmuted, I can also unmute you. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the chat and then I'll go to the Q&A because it looks like everybody used different things. So someone said, what about math majors? The Global Exchange Program or doing the Osaka Research, the University of Tokyo or Tohoku, that would work for you. Waseda, I know, has some math classes, but that's a year-long commitment unless you want to go through OAP. And ICU, I think, has some math classes as well. Okay, the next question was, if possible, I'd want to do some GE requirements while in Japan. How do we know that the courses we want to take will meet our GE requirements? So it's important for you to look at what GE requirements you have still to take, and you're going to want to look at the course offerings on the different that are available through the different programs. See if you can find anything that you think aligns with what you need to take, and you would have to show either a syllabus or a course description to your college advisor, and they would then tell you whether they think it would work to fulfill a GE requirement. Some are going to be pretty easy, like if you're an ERC student and you have regional specialization and you take classes on Japan, that's sort of a no-brainer that it should count. But if you're in a college where you have very specific college requirement and you're not sure if it aligns, that's where your college advisor is going to come into play. Also, a question came up about spring 2021, and unfortunately it is too late for spring 2021. We just closed the applications a couple weeks ago, so I can't take any additional applications for spring 2021. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, my scrolling is not working all that well. Okay, so another question, it says on the UCEAP website, when you click on a program, it shows unique study opportunities. Are these opportunities requirements or are they just ideas? So EAP lists, if there's anything unique that a student's done, they'll give some suggestions or highlight something. No, this is absolutely not required. They just want you to know that it may be available for you. So even, you know, they have an internship tab, but like I said, internships are not very easy to find in Japan. So I think they just list, you know, it's self-arranged and they've been done before. So they don't give you a lot of details. Okay, I think I'm going to go from the bottom up because I'm having issues. I don't have a mouse and I'm having issues scrolling. How would we know if our Japanese is advanced enough? Is there some sort of test or something that we would take to get an idea if our Japanese is advanced enough? That's a great question. If you've had at least 3 years of Japanese, then you're in the running. Most of the universities will do a language placement exam when you arrive. And so if you've taken university level Japanese and you're at least 3 years or higher, you'll take a test. And if they deem that your level is high enough to enroll in Japanese classes, then they'll let you. If you have never taken Japanese, but you speak Japanese at home, and you have like native fluency or near native fluency, then what we would have you do is meet with a Japanese language professor on campus, and there's a form for them to fill out, and they would assess your language skills, and that would tell me that, you know, what your level is. Okay, another question is, a program requirement of junior standing doesn't necessarily mean that I need to be a third-year student, right? We just need to have the credit of a junior standing. Yes, absolutely. So junior standing at UCSD is 84 units. So if you can show that you're going to have 84 units by departure, then you meet junior standing. Okay, another question is, I'm now a sophomore, and for the next summer session 2021, am I still a sophomore or a junior? We go only off a unit, so you're going to have to look at how many units you'll have by summer 2021. Okay, someone asked about Tokyo Institute of Technology. Unfortunately, we don't have an exchange agreement with them through UCEAP, and it's my understanding that they do not do direct enrollment at TIT. You're welcome to look at their website and see if you can figure it out, but I've never had anyone go directly. So some universities will not take applications directly, and that's one that I have not heard of. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the Q&A. Someone asked, what if your passport expires this summer and you have to reapply? So we don't require a passport. We don't require a passport at the time of application, but we highly encourage you to have your passport ready to go as soon as possible after the application deadline. And the reason being is there's usually, with UCEAP, like a 3 or 4 week turnaround. After you apply, you're going to start hearing from EAP, and they're going to want to know that you have a passport. So if you don't have your a passport that is current, or you have never had a passport and you're thinking about studying abroad, like summer 2021 or on, I would say go ahead and get started now. We do have information on our website, or you can even just Google, you know, US passport, and it'll take you to websites where it'll explain the whole process. Another person asked, fall 2021 for ICU, is it open for scholarships and the application yet? So if you're interested in applying for UCEAP, our application system is open, and you'll go to how to apply. There's a 10 steps that walks you through the process. You will be applying through the Tritons Abroad as well as UCEAP application portal. Everything is open. You can go ahead and get started. In terms of scholarships, we have scholarship cycles. So it's not dependent on a particular program. It depends on when you're going. So if you're going to go in the summer or the fall, typically you apply for scholarships sometime in April, May. And we do have the approximate deadlines listed on our website. They may be from last year, but you can get a general idea. If you're thinking about going for a year, it's also the same April or May deadline. National scholarships or scholarships outside of our office, they set their own deadline. So you're just going to have to look at our website. I tell students, create an Excel spreadsheet of all the ones that you're eligible for with their deadlines, and so you don't miss anything. Okay, another question is, should I continue with Japanese 10 sequence if I plan to study Japanese in Japan? Absolutely. The more Japanese you take before you leave, the more you're going to understand, the more you're going to learn, the more your Japanese is going to improve. If you don't have room in your schedule to take Japanese, and you'd rather go to Japan this summer and wipe out a year's worth of Japanese, that's your decision. I always say the more language you have, the better. Unless you're looking at a program like Beginning Japanese in Osaka, and that's the program you want, you don't want to go past 10B. If you go past 10B, then you're not eligible for that program anymore. Okay, so someone asked, just out of interest, how has COVID affected spring 2021? That's a great question. I'm sure it's on everybody's mind. We are currently still planning on running the Japan Spring 2021 programs. They have a later start date. They don't start until late March, early April. And so everybody is crossing their fingers that things are better. The good news is the Japanese government has recently announced that they will allow foreign students to come into Japan. We don't know if it means that students will have to quarantine upon arrival or just show a negative test. But as of right now, we're planning on running spring 2021. Another question is, what should we do to prepare as a first year if we'd like to apply in the future? That is a great question. I would say the thing that you really need to look at is look at the different types of programs that are available. Like if you're thinking about EAP, look at the course offerings, see what kinds of classes that are offered in English, and then look at what you need to take in order to graduate from UCSD in 4 years, and save the classes that you think you could take in Japan. What happens sometimes is students will come to me, they're farther along in their course work at UCSD, and they want to go in a particular program, but they've already taken those classes that they might have been able to just save for Japan. So if you're a first year, knowing that there's not a huge offering of courses taught in English, really plan it out. So to give you an example, with my own daughter, who's supposed to go spring 2021, we went through with the Meiji Gakuin, we went through the course catalog, and she's doing a global sustainability minor, and she saved certain classes from that minor that she could then take at Meiji Gakuin. So make sure you look at what's available and save the right types of classes. And so it might mean saving some of your GEs. Another question is, do summer sessions provide other classes than Japanese? Okay, so that's another good question. So for UCEAP, they only have the language programs. So that's where OAP comes into play. If you want to go to Japan in the summer and you don't want to do intensive Japanese, you could consider going to Sophia University and doing the four-week program that focuses on Japanese studies. Waseda University has a summer program. The majority of summer programs, though, through OAP are going to either be focused on the language or the culture. So for STEM majors, if you want to go in the summer, the University of Tokyo or Osaka University is going to be your best bet through EAP. Okay, another question is, are we required to study abroad in Japan if that's our major? So I'm assuming you're a Japanese studies major. No, you don't have to study abroad in Japan. It's not a requirement. However, you're going to be able to do a lot for your major in Japan. So if you go to the Japanese Studies Department's website, they outline what exactly, what types of classes you can take in Japan. You have to do the language, you have to do non-language classes. So for you, it's going to be easy to find the kinds of classes you need there. Okay, another question is, when might the UCEAP program application for research in Osaka be posted? So the applications are already live, so you can go ahead and get started. And like I said, the application is due December 11th. If I require a supplemental application, I will be emailing that to students directly. And then someone asked about the global exchange, if there's a max or minimum number of credits. So for any study abroad program, you're required to be a full-time student. So that means typically for a semester, you're going to take 21 to 28 units while you're abroad. We haven't sent anyone on this program yet, but that typically translates, if the classes are 2 to 3 units, most students are going to be taking, you know, like maybe 9 or 10 classes. It sounds like a lot, but it's not, because you're only meeting maybe 1 hour per week. Okay, another question is, if classes end up being online for spring 2021, would it be able to take classes from UCSD while we are in Japan? Or do the courses have to be strictly from the Japanese university? So if I understand this correctly, you're thinking about living in Japan, but maybe taking your classes at UCSD. I'm not sure if I understand this correctly, but you're allowed to be wherever you want. But EAP for spring 2021 is closed. OAP is still open, and I have students applying to Waseda for spring 2021, and that deadline's not, I think the application closes October 30th. So if you're thinking about spring 2021, we should talk about OAP options for you. The other thing I want to let you know, that you can only apply for one EAP program for the same term. So I can't have you apply to Osaka STEM Lab and University of Tokyo Lab. You have to pick your top choice. You can apply for an EAP program and an OAP program because they're separate programs. But the reason why we only allow students to apply for one program with EAP for the same term is, if you apply for like 5, we don't know which program is your top choice. So we need to know where it is that you want to go. And if we're not able to get you into that program, we certainly work with you to find another option. Okay. Someone asked about other options at the University of Tokyo. Unfortunately, it's just that summer lab program. Someone asked about grad versus undergrad. I think they probably asked a question while I was talking. Graduate students can go abroad on this program, but you do have to have approval from the grad division. So if you're a grad student, we should certainly meet one-on-one so we can talk about it. Let me see. I think I answered a lot of questions, and I know it is already 6 o'clock. I'm just going to answer a few more. And then what I would recommend that you do is, if you still have questions and I didn't get to your question, send it to me through the Virtual Advising Center. I can answer it. Or if you want, go to the virtual front desk and make an appointment with me. We're not that busy right now. I have plenty of time to meet with students, so we could do a one-on-one. Someone asked, just out of curiosity, if I decide to take the Kyoto University Fall Program October to February, what will you do after you come back, since there will be a gap between February and spring quarter? It's up to you. If your visa doesn't, you know, if you are allowed to stay in Japan, your visa is still valid, you can stay in Japan and travel around. You would just go home. You would have a nice long break. So we don't require you to come back to UCSD once the program ends. You just have to be here for the beginning of spring quarter, if you plan to enroll in spring quarter. Okay, another question is, as a first year, who plans on taking Japanese each year? Would it be wiser to go as soon as possible, or to wait until after my 3rd year of language classes? Okay, so that's a really good question. I think it's a personal choice. If you've had 3 years of Japanese, you're just farther along, you're going to understand more, you're going to be able to interact more, and it's really up to you. If you only have a year of Japanese, you're still going to learn a lot. Your Japanese is going to improve just from living there. So I think it's really a personal decision on timing and what you think works best for you. The person you could reach out to is Kumi in the Japanese Studies Department. She is originally from Osaka, and she does the placement exam for students when they come back. And so she gets a feel for how much students have learned in a short period of time. And she might have an opinion for you on that. But what I would say is it's going to be a personal decision and what you think works best for you. I would say the farther along though, probably the more you're going to be able to immerse yourself because you'll have just that much more Japanese. Someone else asked, can you take non-language classes that are taught in Japanese? Yes, if you have an advanced Japanese and you've done at least 3 years of Japanese or more, you can take bio classes in Japanese. You just have to feel comfortable in taking classes that are with Japanese classmates that are, native speakers, and you're going to be doing all the exams and everything in Japanese. Okay, so someone asked, does transfer credit mean that it doesn't count toward GPA but can be fulfilling major requirement? Absolutely, Rick. If it's a transfer class, you will get a grade from the university or the program you go on. So if you go to professional school or graduate school, that transcript's going to follow you. But what it means is because you took it outside of UCSD in the UC system, it doesn't get included in your UCSD GPA. But you can still petition the class to count for requirements, college requirements, just like you would an EAP class. Okay, another question is, does the course catalog show all classes or just those taught in English? So the links that we have on the EAP website, the link that we have for the Global Exchange Program in Kyoto, it's going to take you to the courses taught in English because that's the majority of our students. They're looking for the courses taught in English. If you have advanced Japanese and you plan on taking classes in Japanese, then you're going to have to go to the host university's course catalog that is in Japanese and go through it. We don't typically link to that. And unfortunately, I don't speak Japanese, so I can't help you with it. You're going to have to navigate the website yourself and look at the course offerings. The other thing is you will have to translate the course descriptions or syllabi for your advisors back here at UCSD. Okay, another question. I'm currently a freshman. Should we apply once fall quarter ends so we have a GPA that we can meet the GPA requirement? Great question, Joanne. If you're a first year and you don't have a GPA, yes, wait until your fall grades are posted before you submit your application. The Tokyo and the STEM lab programs require junior standing anyway. So I know you're not going to be applying in December for those. The first deadline for the other Japan programs for EAP is January 4th. So you're so wait. Don't give me an empty transcript because I'll just come back to you and say, what were your grades for the fall? Okay, someone asked, how tough is the application process in terms of getting accepted after meeting requirements? So I'm very straightforward if a program is impacted. So I already told you that the STEM research programs in the summer are quite competitive. I don't want to discourage you. If that's your top choice, go ahead and apply. For the other programs during, ICU and the year-long and Hitotsubashi, typically as long as you meet the GPA requirement and the class standing, I have plenty of spots on those programs. They're what we call open programs. So that means that as long as you meet the eligibility requirements, I can accept your application. Now the host universities do have to accept you as well, but as long as you get your paperwork done on time, there's no reason why they would turn you away. Remember, this is an exchange. So we're accepting their students and they're accepting ours. So if they turn students, that's not good because then they don't get as many spots for their students. So it is an exchange agreement with EAP. And so they really want to make sure that they have students, accepted. So as long as you meet the requirements, except for those lab research, there should be no issue getting you in. Someone asked about Tokyo Osaka Lab. Does it include computer science? Absolutely. I think I'm getting most of them. I've gotten most of them. I'm going to close out the questions. And someone asked in the chat, I'm currently a senior and I'm on track to graduate this spring. Would there still be opportunities to study abroad in terms of grad school or having to delay graduation? So Andrew, if you're planning on graduating, you would need to delay your graduation date because all of these programs require that you be an active enrolled student. So if you're thinking about studying abroad, talk to your college about it. I would need to have you change your graduation date. But it does happen, especially with COVID. If you were hoping to study abroad earlier and you didn't get to, I think the colleges are going to be sympathetic. There are grad schools that take students, from overseas at the Japanese, grad programs, and they are offering more grad programs in English. I just don't know a lot about them. And so you probably have to just go to the different university websites that you're interested in and look at the grad programs to see if they offer any in English and what subject matter. So typically it tends to be in the social sciences and humanities. Okay, so I have another question. Can we apply for F1 visa on campus, and do we have to go to the embassy? And for international students, will our I-20 still be available after finishing studying abroad? I'm going to direct you to the International Students Office for any I-20 questions. Just so you know, with UCEAP, if you go during the academic year, you're still an enrolled UCSD student. We put placeholder on your academic record. With OAP, you're no longer enrolled at UCSD, and the International Students Office can certainly talk to you about how it works with getting your I-20. There is a process for it. So I have had international students go on OAP, so you wouldn't be the first one, but I just don't want to give you misinformation. So I'd have you reach out to them. And then in terms of I don't know if you're asking about, you said F1, which is the US visa, but if you're asking about the student visa for Japan, we're going to give you the visa application for Japan that's later in the process, closer to departure, and there's going to be a bunch of paperwork you're going to have to fill out, and we'll explain what the process is for you to get your visa. Okay. Oh, someone sent the link for the getting passports. Yes, the recording will be available. I will put it on the YouTube page, and it looks like we're slowing down. So any last questions? I think I've pretty much covered a lot of them. I'm going to go back to the Q&A. Oh, someone asked about Korea. Yes, there are opportunities in Korea. We, with the EAP, have an exchange with Seoul National University in Yonsei, and we have summer, fall, spring. I'm not the Korea advisor, but we do have an advisor who does advise for Korea, and I certainly can answer some basic questions. My guess is she'll be doing a Korea webinar as well, so keep an eye out for that. We'll put it on the events calendar if there is going to be one offered. So I think I've gotten everybody. Just take a look at our website and look at the different avenues for study abroad. Make an appointment with me if you want to talk about Japan. You can do it through the virtual front desk, and I'm happy to help you, through the whole process to get you to Japan. Or if you decide to go somewhere else, we're here to, happy to help you along the way. So stay safe, everybody. Good luck with the beginning of your quarter, and stay well, and reach out to us because we are here for you. We're just remote, but we are doing appointments through Zoom, so we're here for you. Okay, and we'll post this on our, someone asked for the virtual front desk link. Just go to studyabroad.ucsd.edu. It's right on the front page. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Stay well, and I look forward to meeting you potentially on a one-on-one advising appointment soon. Take care. You're welcome, everybody.